Hey everyone, Estrongel here, and if you're watching this video, that means the stable release for Minecraft has just dropped, and also the RuneCraft 1.4.0 update is now available for download. You can find the download link in the description of this video, the trailer video, and also on the patch notes page on the wiki website. Additionally, in a few days, it should be on the MCPDL page for RuneCraft or CurseForge if I decide to figure out how to set that stuff up. Anyways, today I'll be going over the patch notes, and while the patch notes don't really cover everything I've changed, since it's been such a long time since the last update I released, I am going to go over at least the major changes, or what I feel is the most important. So yeah, let's get into it. For armor changes, we recently, well not recently, probably like 6 or 7 months ago, we got the ability to add smithing templates to armor as well as dye armor. So I implemented as best as I could the armor trims, so these all work with RuneCraft armor now. Slight correction. I found out you can't have custom ingots be used in smithing templates. However, you can have smithing templates be used on custom armor. So I was trying to use an adamant ingot, and that's not possible because the smithing tables aren't data driven. So there's no way for me to make an adamant ingot or a mithril ingot be usable in this third slot. However, if I use something that is a vanilla material like resin or iron, copper, that will work perfectly fine. So I do have custom armor. It's with the trims, so this works. I've also made leather armor dyeable too. However, I never really got this to work. I spent like 2 weeks on it when it first came out. Followed the guides and documentation. Never got it working. At this point, I'm not really too keen on trying to get it to work right now. I feel like there's better things I could put my time into, and I don't think it really impacts gameplay that much. For some reason, you're also able to put armor trims on it. That's not intended. I don't know why it's doing that. I'll have to look into it, but this shouldn't be happening, and I'm gonna make sure that's removed in the next update. So don't try and trim your leather armor. I don't know why you would, but just don't, because it's gonna get removed in the next update. But yeah. I've also updated how you obtain black armor. So before, it could only really drop from brutes, which are only spawned in bastions. And I think because of the way mobs spawn in bastions, they don't exactly take any like equipment presets you try and give them. And so the majority of the time, the piglin brutes would just never drop any black equipment or ingots or whatever they're supposed to drop. So I've changed that so it's a lot more accessible now. You should be able to get equipment that will make the piglins not attack you. So to do this, I made black ingots are now obtainable. They're found in chests. They're in the piglin loot table, so killing them has a chance to drop them. And then you can also barter for them by giving them gold. And then piglins can also now spawn, or they will spawn, holding black swords as their weapon instead of whatever it was previously. I think it was gold swords. And those can always be smelted down into bars to be used to make other equipment. I've also made some changes to ore generation. So copper and tin are now going to generate together in the same cluster instead of separate. The reason I did this is because there was a lot of confusion on how to make bronze ingots and equipment, to the point where people would sometimes completely skip over this whole equipment set and just wait until they can make iron armor. And I figured by making them generate together, I'll switch to spectator mode and fly around and see if I could find some. But I figured if I made them generate together, maybe it would be more clear that, hey, copper and tin might do something together. And maybe if I look at it for a second or put it in the crafting table, I'll figure out how to make bronze. And that's sort of my solution at the moment. I don't know how well it'll pan out. If you have a better idea, let me know in the comments. I do plan on doing more tweaks in the future to this to make it more clear. But that's going to have to wait until I add in the smithing skill. So this is my short-term solution. The only other change I made with ore generation was that coal generation has been increased in the overworld and in the nether. I just felt it was way too rare for how much coal you really need when you play the game. Moving on to one of the other quality of life features, one of the complaints that I've received was about the need to consume food whenever you would take any sort of minor damage, such as fall damage, getting punched, or failing to steal from an entity. So to address this, I've added a passive health regeneration system, which will mean players will restore 1 health every 20 seconds. The thieving skills also received several quality of life improvements and some minor changes that should make it much more enjoyable, not only in the single player experience, but also in the multiplayer experience. So the first change that I can't really show is that multiple players can now steal from the same entity simultaneously. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I've removed the cooldown from the villagers code. So villagers will no longer have a cooldown that prevents you from stealing from them. The cooldown is now only on the player's side, and that basically lets as many players as you want to be able to steal from the same mob. The other change is that I've reduced cooldown timers to 3 seconds across the board, regardless of whether you succeed or fail from the villagers. I think it was like 7 seconds before, and before that it was 20 or 30 seconds, which is just a little ridiculous. So now you no longer have to wait a super long time before you can steal again. I've also made some adjustments to bonus rolls to also now include the chance of getting rogue equipment or a party hat. This means that if you're already getting bonus rolls, it should be much easier to get additional pieces of rogue equipment. And then the last change, which isn't a quality of life improvement but is coming with the Herblore update, I've adjusted the stealable loot table from for farmers to now include herbs and herb seeds. And then witches can now have some of the new RuneCraft potions stolen from them. Let's talk about one of the new skills being added in RuneCraft 1.4.0. The Herblore skill adds about a dozen new plants that generate throughout the world, as well as completely overhauls and replaces the existing vanilla brewing system. I've also taken the liberty to add several new types of potions. So the biggest issue I had with the vanilla system for potions was that, one, you had a limited inventory space, so carrying potions oftentimes felt inefficient and just almost unnecessary. And the second was that making potions wasn't very intuitive. There's no way to know what ingredients you need for which potion, and I never made them enough to really remember what any of the recipes were. I know I needed a water bottle, I know I needed blaze powder, and then nether wart, and that was about it. I didn't know anything else about what the ingredients were. I knew I could chuck random stuff in there, and I would eventually get something, but oftentimes I would have to open up a Google page and just look up the whole recipe list. So my solution to this was to make all potions now have 4 uses. So if I give myself, say, let's just give myself a speed potion. So these now have 4 uses. You now get the effect for 4 minutes. And the nice thing about this change is that I can drink it again. And then instead of just refreshing the duration, I now have 8 minutes. And I've set a limit for this to go all the way up to 30 minutes. So you'll be able to store up to 30 minutes of an effect at any given time, which I feel like is pretty good compared to the old system. I think the old system you could have a max of like 8 was the highest potion duration, and then drinking another one would only refresh it. So I feel like that's a good change. And then herbs for brewing potions are also going to naturally generate. If I fly around in creative, just teleport myself somewhere, I should be able to find them. I should be able to find them generating somewhere. There's a whole list of biomes you can find details on where to locate them, and then even what mobs will drop each herb on the Herblore wiki page. There's also a whole level requirement in order to harvest each herb. So the level 1 herb is Visodime, which can generate in, I want to say, most overworld biomes that pretty much generate consistently. So forests, for example. So it should be pretty accessible. They also can be bought from farmers and stolen from farmers, as I mentioned earlier. And so I'm not really finding them. I did make them quite rare. I don't know if I need to make them more common, because I figured most people will generally just find a couple and then start their own farm. So let me just go back and I will show you guys the brewing system. So if I come all the way over here, I set up a little demonstration. So the other solution to this was the brewing table. And the nice part about this is it will show you all the potions you can make in level unlock order, and then all the potions you can't make. And now if I want to know what the recipe requirements are, what ingredients I need for, say, like the swiftness potion, I can click on it. It's going to transition to a new page, and it's going to tell me what materials I need. So I need a water bottle, 1 swiftine, and then 1 sugar. And if I look in here, I have water bottles, I have brown mushrooms, I don't have any sugar. So if I click on it again, I can see I only have the water bottle, and it tells me how many of it I have in my inventory. So let's go to something I can make. Let's give myself some grimy shapus. Give myself 20. If I go back into survival, I can see that I have 0 shapus in my inventory, 20 brown mushrooms, and 4 water bottles. The reason I have 0 shapus is because I only have the grimy version right now. I need to clean it. The way to clean it is to interact with any water source block. It does not work on flowing water right now because it's just not possible. So once I've done this, I can open up the brewing table again. It's now very clear what potion I can make, the shrink potion. And if I click that I want to make it, I can now say how many potions I want to make. And now this comes up with the new tether system, where the tether system is a new crafting system for RuneCraft. It allows you to continue to craft items while not having to stand next to a block. There are 4 rules with it, though. You need to stay within 4 blocks of the initial crafting block. Sorry, 10 blocks of the initial crafting block. You cannot take damage or deal damage, and you have to have the required materials in order to brew the potion at each time it would craft the potion. And then the block you interacted with to start brewing has to not move or be broken. Now, I've already talked about a lot for the Herblore skill, and I don't really want to go too in-depth into all of the mechanics. All this information is detailed on the Herblore wiki page, and I plan on making a much more detailed video guide on everything about this skill. Now that I've introduced Herblore, let's talk about some of the additional features that are coming in to accompany it. The first of these are potion-soaked sponges. So I feel like sponges are relatively useless at some point, or like the need for them kind of wanes unless you're trying to just dry out an entire lake or something. So I wanted to give them a new use, and that comes in the form of potion-soaked sponges. So if we take one of our sponges, go into the crafting table, and we have 4 use potions, we can now make potion-soaked sponges. So right here, I can make a shrink-soaked sponge, which means that anytime I stand on this sponge, I'm going to be shrunken down and get the shrink effect. I can also make an enhanced haste-soaked sponge, which means every time I stand on this, I'm going to be given the haste effect. Of course, if I stand off of it, the haste effect will go away. However, if we place multiple down near each other and we stand in the corner of them, the potion effect can now stack, and I made it to where this effect can stack up to 5 minutes. And so if you want to, you can sit AFK for a little bit, stack up a haste effect potion, and you only need 4 of these. You don't have to keep wasting haste potions, and then you can just go mining for a little bit and then just come back and forth and just keep getting the effect. And this works for every single potion. So another neat one is I can give myself the teleport soaked sponge. I call it teleportation soaked sponge. If I put this here and then I drop items on it, it doesn't work. Okay, well that's bugged. I'll fix that in the next update. So that doesn't work, but you get the gist of it. All of the potions have potion soaked sponges. Don't know what that was. So if I stand on this, it's the enhanced grow soaked sponge, so now I become big, but if I step off of it, I become normal sized again. That's one of the new features being added to accompany the potion rework. The other are fan blocks. I give myself a fan, and I give myself a redstone. I think I have to use redstone dust. I think torch. I do that. And this, the wind block will push players and then items as well. So you can use this as an alternate sort of transportation system instead of just using bubble columns. And this will work in all directions. And I just lost the fan block. So it can work on all directions, as you can see. And the other neat features with this is that if I have the fan block pointed upwards and I go, hey, I want to put a potion soaked sponge on top of it, I can. And now anywhere you stand, and now standing on top of this potion soaked sponge will give you the haste effect. Now that seems normal at first because, hey, I'm just standing on it. However, what you can do from here is place another one on top and just keep stacking them, and you will now get all of the effects from this potion soaked sponge all the way to this one. So let's wait for this to time out. And if we stand on this, we're going to get the haste effect very quickly. And you can keep stacking this all the way up to the max limit. And you see we're going to get the effect really fast. We can also add other effects in as well. So I can give myself the swiftness soaked sponge, stack a couple of these on top, and we're going to get both effects now. And so I think this is a great solution to adding more uses to sponges, and also adding a neat new sort of utility block. The last thing I'm going to go over in this video is the farming skill. My goal with farming was to make the farming process a lot more interactive, and that's kind of it. I mean, farming in vanilla Minecraft is you sort of just plant down seeds, and then you just wait for them to grow, and then you harvest them, and then rinse and repeat. So with RuneCraft, I've added a disease mechanic to all the custom plants, add new soil blocks that will increase the growth rate for plants and reduce the chance for a plant to become diseased, as well as a new boss drop. So let's start off with the disease mechanic. I can't really show it because none of these herbs are diseased, but it'll be noted by a particle effect. It'll be really obvious when a plant's diseased. When they're diseased, they have a small chance to die. If the diseased plant dies or is broken, it doesn't drop a seed, so you can't just break them with your hand after they're diseased and hope to get the seed back so you could restart it. And then you can always cure a plant of disease by using shears. So using shears on a diseased plant will reduce its growth stage by 1 if it's possible. And then you can also use a cure potion on the plant, and that won't reduce its growth stage. Moving on to the soil blocks I've added. They are in 3 separate tiers. I think I have these out of order. It is fertile, I believe it's fertile, rich, and then pristine soil. So there's 3 tiers. If I come to the crafting table, you can see all of the recipes. Okay, fertile's actually, yeah, okay, fertile, rich, pristine. So they're in 3 tiers. Generally, the harder it is to craft, the better the effects are going to be in terms of increasing growth rates and then preventing disease. So fertile, I plan for it to be accessible relatively in the early game because it's going to be just cheap. It's just charcoal or coal and then a dirt block. Rich, I plan for it to be the mid game. It takes clay and sand blocks, and then big bones. And then pristine, I intended it to be more of the late game when you're finalizing your farm processes and upgrading everything. And that's going to take quartz, burnt bones, and clay. Currently, that's sort of it for the Herblore skill. Well, I do have the boss drop still, but right now, for in terms of plants, only the herbs being added with the Herblore skill are really involved with the farming process, and that's because the farming skill is gonna have a lot more later on whenever cooking comes out. Going over the new boss drop really quick, it's called the Uncharged Wither Core. As its name sort of references, you get it as a wither drop. Let me just summon a wither really quick. Let me move away from this village. I'm on peaceful. Let's make it easy. Summon wither. I'll just kill it when it spawns. Okay, it's dead. Hopefully this works. Okay, cool. So it dropped a wither core, dropped some of the wither spines. That doesn't matter, the new thing is the wither core. So we get an uncharged wither core, and as a note under it saying it can be charged while held in offhand by killing wither skeletons, kills remaining 20. So if I summon a wither skeleton, and kill it while it's in my offhand, it now has 19 remaining. Kill another one is 18, killing another one will be 17, so on and so forth. Once you've killed 20 wither skeletons, you will get a charged wither core. The neat thing about the charged wither core is if you have a wither rose, you also need to get from the wither boss. If you have a wither rose, you can place that down, use the charged wither core on it. The wither core breaks, and then it turns the wither rose into a white rose. Now the neat thing about the white rose is that it works very well with farming. Its purpose is to basically just prevent disease with a 100% chance for all surrounding farm plants within a 1 block radius. So all 8 of these plants can no longer be diseased, and it will be like that forever. And so this should give a viable at least like a new use for farming the wither boss, because you're gonna want pretty much one of these for every single farming setup. And so yeah, that's kind of it for this video. There's still a lot more with the add-on that I didn't really cover in this, and there's a lot more I need to work on. While recording this video, I found a whole load of bugs that I'm already working on fixing, and I want to be a bit more consistent about my add-on updates this year. So starting next week, and hopefully for as long as I can, I'm going to be doing weekly, or at least bi-week, or at least every 2 weeks update videos on what I'm doing, what I have done, and then any other notes that any other things that I want to talk about. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I hope you enjoy. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.